Welcome back. There's a new and big growing trend happening now on social media. TikTokers, social media posters talking about people they know witnessing firsthand how they're abusing welfare and food stamps. Meanwhile, millions of Americans need food stamps to survive. Let's welcome back to the show California gubernatorial candidate Steve Hilton. Steve, what do you make of this? It's great to see you again. People are now becoming more vocal about this. What do you think?
It's really important. Everyone needs to understand how outrageous it is that we've had this massive expansion in welfare that enables Americans to live without working. That is not how we do things in this country. I'm seeing it on the road here in California, in farming country. I was visiting a dairy, talking to the dairy workers. They were telling me they don't make a huge amount of money, 45, 50 grand a year. They told me that their girlfriends make more money than them on welfare without working at all. They make more money than someone working full-time. Another story, someone who owns a hotel. He employs someone to drive the shuttle bus to the airport. It's an airport hotel. After 2 days, the guy said to this person who owns the hotel, could he please go on cash instead of on payroll? Why? Because he was worried about losing his benefits. The guy asked the worker, how much do you make on benefits? $7,000 a month. That's 84 grand a year. On welfare.
That's a lot of money.
This is totally unacceptable. It's totally unacceptable. We cannot be paying people who could work not to work. It's unacceptable, and it's hardworking taxpayers footing the bill. It's got to stop. And as governor, I will put a stop to it, certainly in California.
Yes, Steve, Franklin Delano Roosevelt said welfare becomes a narcotic to the soul. It's bad. People should work. JFK, Democrats, said the best form of welfare is a job. But what do you make of Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins saying that food stamp spending blew up, exploded under Biden by 40% and almost doubled to $100 billion. Meanwhile, there's hundreds of billions of dollars dating to when Medicaid started that in fraud. So it's like money is going out the door, but nobody's checking the store.
Exactly. And it's such a great example of the Democrats getting just totally losing touch with regular hardworking people. The Democrats think they're being compassionate, handing out money to people as if there's no tomorrow. But who's paying for that? It's actually hardworking people. And that's what's outrageous. It's cruel to take money from someone who's working incredibly hard, and because of all the rising costs, particularly in blue states, can't pay the bills, can't afford anything. Now you take their taxes and hand it to people who aren't working. It's outrageous.
Now let's show you this. The White House launched a new website showing criminal illegal aliens getting taxpayer-funded Medicaid benefits, mugshots of dozens of illegal aliens convicted of brutal crimes, Steve, like manslaughter, attempted murder, battery, assault, rape, burglary, kidnapping, child abuse, and DUIs. They're getting Medicaid. That's undercutting Democrat claims this isn't happening. The White House is also saying Democrats stop it with restoring Medicaid benefits to illegal aliens until you clean up that abuse.
I mean, look, Gavin Newsom in California brags about spending money on full Medicaid for illegal immigrants. $12 billion it's going to be next year, an increase in the budget from this year. So the Democrats saying we don't do this is just a straight up lie. It's a lie. They do this, and it's part of their philosophy, which is that they are on the side of people who do the wrong thing, who break the law, and who want to get something for nothing, instead of being on the side of people who do it the American way, which is to work, to climb that ladder of opportunity, to work hard and do it the right way. And we need to be on their side. And this Trump administration is finally putting an end to this gravy train that's gone on for far too long.
Listen to Steve Hilton. Memorize what he just said. He's terrific. Steve, you're wonderful. Thanks for being with us.